My friend Lisa is a wife, a mother of 3, an avid athlete, and a cancer survivor. Before kids, she and her husband, Mark, used to always snuggle in a double or at most queen-size bed. But once kids entered the picture, even a queen-size bed didn't feel big enough for them. Many of us know what that's like, when suddenly your bed for 2 needs to accommodate the sleeping darlings, whether children or the furry kind, who might weasel their way into your bed at some point in the night. And as sleep grew more and more precious, their longing for solitary, uninterrupted sleep grew stronger, overpowering those former desires for closeness and intimacy. To make matters worse, Lisa is a lifelong insomniac, so she became especially protective of her sleep. But all that changed when she got sick. At night, the fears about her diagnosis, the thought of losing her children, her husband, became most intense. And what she needed more than anything was to feel connected with her husband. And so did he. Ironically, once Lisa's psychological need for closeness overwhelmed her pursuit of the perfect night of sleep, she actually started sleeping better. The marital, or otherwise shared bed, is a window into our deepest vulnerabilities and how we look to our relationships to help us feel safe during threatening times. As a sleep scientist and clinician who has spent my career studying the coupled nature of sleep, there's probably no question I'm asked more frequently than, is it bad if my partner and I sleep apart? There's a lot of pressure around the meaning of the marital or otherwise shared bed. But this is largely a socially constructed belief system, not science-based. Most of the groundbreaking work in sleep science over the past 60 years has come from studies of people sleeping alone in a laboratory under tightly controlled conditions. But sleep in the real world doesn't occur in laboratory environments. Sleep in the real world is often noisy, interrupted, and most importantly, shared. Couples of all types, straight, gay, young, old, healthy couples, and those facing illness like Lisa and Mark, face all sorts of challenges when it comes to the shared sleep experience. Truth is, most of us are sleeping together. Well, not together as in you and me, but with a partner. But other data suggests a growing number of couples are choosing to sleep apart. The National Association of Home Builders reports 1 out of 3 couples buying high-end custom homes opt for dual master bedrooms. Throughout Western history, the pendulum has shifted back and forth from stigma attached to sleeping together versus sleeping apart. For example, the trend I mentioned of wealthy couples opting for separate master bedrooms is nothing new. Just think of the sleeping arrangements of Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip as depicted in The Crown. Now theirs is a seriously enduring relationship, and they have slept apart for decades, at least according to Netflix. Fast forward to the sexual revolution, and we began to equate the figurative meaning of sleeping together, i.e. sex, with the literal meaning, resulting in cultural attitudes that we still hold today, that sleeping apart is necessarily a sign of a loveless or sexless union. We've even given a name for it, sleep divorce. Yes, when couples, even happy couples, choose to sleep apart. Now, how judgy is that? Here's what the science tells us about the costs and benefits of sleeping together or apart. When sleep is measured objectively, People actually sleep worse with a partner. In fact, if you sleep with a snorer, you can blame your partner for up to 50% of your sleep disruptions. But when you ask those same people, do you prefer to sleep with your partner or do you prefer to sleep alone? Most say they prefer to sleep with their partner. This suggests our social brain is prioritizing our need for closeness and security at night, even if at times it comes at a cost to our sleep. That said, all of us need to make sleep a priority because healthy sleep has the power to strengthen our relationships, whereas sleepless nights can bring relationship harm. Take, for example, this all too common scenario. He falls asleep, the snoring begins. She lies next to him, awake and in agony, until in total frustration, she gives him a fierce jab to the ribs. Let's face it, neither partner is sleeping particularly well, and at least one partner is feeling increasingly resentful. This can set a vicious cycle in motion of sleep problems leading to relationship problems and so on, wreaking havoc on your relationship, not to mention your health and well-being. When we studied couples' sleep and relationship quality night and day, we found that for men, on nights when he slept worse, his relationship quality suffered the next day. But for women, it was all about the relationship. On days when she was not so happy about her relationship, that night, both her sleep and her husband's sleep suffered. Like the old saying goes, if she's not happy, no one's sleeping. Just ask my husband. Sleeping together challenges can also emerge due to differences in sleep-wake patterns. Take my friend Lisa, the lifelong insomniac, and her husband Mark. Sometimes even the most well-intentioned partner, like Mark, may inadvertently perpetuate a sleep problem. He would often tell Lisa to sleep in or go to bed early so she could try to catch up on her sleep. Unfortunately, that's exactly what not to do when it comes to insomnia. A key step in the most powerful treatment for insomnia is to reduce time in bed, not extend it. Other couples face challenges because their sleep-wake schedules are out of sync. Some of us are owls who like to burn the midnight oil, whereas others, the larks, wake up cheerfully at the crack of dawn, much to the chagrin of everyone around them. So, should birds of a feather sleep together? Our research shows that couples who are more in sync in their sleep-wake patterns do enjoy some relationship advantages. We measured couples' sleep on a minute-to-minute basis throughout the night and found that those who were asleep or awake at the same times were more satisfied in their relationship. Other research shows that mismatched pairs have lower levels of relationship satisfaction, more conflict, and less sex. Now, before all you mismatched pairs run off in despair, there is hope. Research also shows that couples who have good problem-solving skills are able to overcome the challenges otherwise associated with being out of sync. For many couples, the time before falling asleep is most important for a strong relationship. So, if you're a lark and he's an owl, you could spend some quality time together in bed before he falls asleep, then quietly leave the room and return at your more natural, later bedtime. And if he wakes up before you, he could start his early bird day, then return later to wish you good morning, ideally with coffee in hand. After all, a key factor in any healthy and happy relationship is knowing how to negotiate our differences and find compromise both day and night. And back to the million-dollar question, is it bad if my partner and I sleep apart? The answer is no, not necessarily. Just as sleeping together doesn't guarantee a successful relationship, if only it were that easy, sleeping apart doesn't guarantee an unsuccessful one. Use open and honest communication to find solutions that will maximize sleep quality for both of you. And if sleeping apart seems like the right choice, then think of it not as filing for a sleep divorce, but rather forging a sleep alliance with your partner. Or, as journalist Jessica Goldstein calls it, unconscious uncoupling. Bottom line, there is no one-size-fits-all sleeping strategy for all couples. But all couples should make sleep a priority. After all, we spend about 1/3 of our lives asleep. Proportionally, that's a major part of our coupled existence, much more so than sex. And yet it's so often neglected. Research shows us when you're well slept, you're a better communicator, more empathic, happier, more attractive, and funnier. All important attributes in developing and sustaining healthy and happy relationships. Sadly, we live in a culture that continues to view sleep deprivation as a badge of honor. Perhaps by focusing on how our sleep problems affect not just ourselves, but also our relationships, we can begin to view sleep as the pillar of health that it is. If you're not going to sleep for yourself, then do it for your partner and everyone else around you. Consider it an investment in your relationship. At the end of the day, there is nothing happier, healthier, and even sexier than a good night of sleep. Thank you.